The Gemara asked the question. The Gemara brought a proof that that there's tchias hamesim because it says he koris tikoris. That a person who blasphemes Hashem, it repeats the word koris. So one says the word hikoris means in this world, tikoris means in olam haba. The other one says dibra Torah kolosh b'nei adam. There's no proof because the Torah speaks the way people speak. You reiterate something. Right? It's where he held over here. But the Gemara says there's a third pasuk. It says Hashem hu magadi v'nichrasa. So it says the word koris 3 times. Hikoris tikoris. Then it says v'nichrasa. So Gemara says, even if your opinion, so what did Rabbi Shmuel say? That Dibra Torah Kolosh, it says avona bo, but right? But if a person after he dies, there's nothing to talk about. What do you mean the avona bo? Meaning, because the sin continues, he will not have a share in the world to come. So Gemara asks, if that's the case, what do we need? What do they do with avona bo? If the Nichrasa tells me olam haba, we have hikoris tikoris, Dibra Torah Kolosh b'nei adam. As Hashem Magadi for Nichrasa, that's olam haba. That's tchias hamesim. So what's avon haba? Avon haba means if the sin carries on. So on that he said we left off over here. Mar says, Bein Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva, avon haba ma'avdi bay. L'chatanya yochel afilu asa tshuva. You may think even if one does tshuva, because he sinned initially, he has no share in the world to come. Talmud avon haba. That's only if you don't do tshuva. But if you do tshuva, you have a share in the world to come. I mean, what's even the consideration? What's the consideration? He did tshuva. I need avonabo to tell me that you'll merit tchias hamesim if you do tshuva. Because you would think even if you did tshuva, maybe you should have merit tchias hamesim. How do we understand this? I mean, every Rosh Hashanah Kippur, the reason why we were judged for the future, the next year, because we do tshuva. But I would think, if it didn't say avona bo in this context, even if you did tshuva, you wouldn't have a share in the world to come. Right? You see from the Rosh Hashanah, I mean, the two things. There's going to be Yom Adin HaGodol. At the end of time, there's going to be the great day of judgment. At the end of this existence. Who's going to make it, who's not going to make it? So Tosas asks, but if every year you're judged, every Rosh Hashanah, every Yom Kippur you're judged, that's the gates, that's Nila, or Hoshana Rabbah, that's the final judgment. What do you have to be judged at the end of time? Right? You've been judged already. I mean, if you made it into Olam, after a person dies, he goes into Gan Eden. You're in Gan Eden, you're going to Olam Haba. We said it's only a holding pattern. So Tosas is not so simple. Even that, there are those who are not going to merit tchias hamesim. Even though you merit it to be in Olam HaMishamos, in the holding pattern, what we call the spiritual world, you may not be resurrected. So the way I explained it was that Shiva once said, named Rabbi Shol Salanter, remember we spoke about din v'cheshbon. Rabbi Shol Salanter says everybody has a din v'cheshbon, a judgment, a verdict, and a computation. So the Vilna Gaon asks, you have cheshbon v'din, right? Before you give the verdict, you evaluate the evidence, and then you give the verdict. So what's din v'cheshbon? So he always used to say over from Rabbi Salanter that there's a verdict when a person dies, but there's a cheshbon always. What's the cheshbon? The cheshbon is because let's say a person influenced somebody in a positive way in his lifetime. He dies. And the future generations haven't yet been born. But because of that influence, the future generations that will be born, they can do mitzvahs, and they can do special things. So there's an ongoing computation of the positive. Good things are happening. That's going to be at the end of time. At the end of time, they're going to have to evaluate everything, what happened, even after the person died. Good and bad. It goes good and bad. So if a person had a negative influence on someone else, and because of that, the person went off the path, and he raised generations of people who are heretics or didn't observe the Torah, that person initially is fully responsible for all the terrible things that happen. That's going to be the din HaGodol at the end of time. So the person today may be in Olam Haba, but at the end of the day, he's not making it into Tchias HaMesim. He will not be resurrected. Okay, that's the, so the Chofetz Chaim says something interesting, unrelated. I mean, it's related, but not this. He says in the one of the Sforim, he says if a person speaks about somebody's Torah education, and because of that he becomes Shomer Torah mitzvahs, and he raises a family, he says all the mitzvahs that are going to be done till the end of time accrue to that person initially who provided that original education, to that one person. That's what he writes for Chofetz Chaim. That's something else. Whatever, I'm not going into stories. This is what he says to Chofetz Chaim. Okay, so you see tremendous value. You never know. We speak about the ripple effect. You throw the stone in the water and there's ripple. You know how far the ripple goes. It's tremendous. It's a good investment. People they want returns on their money. Tremendous return. Notice return is forever. Okay. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you. Let me ask you a question. A person goes, God forbid, kills a person, and he does tshuva shlema, really quality tshuva. Is he forgiven? How do you correct? You're not bringing the person back from the dead. You understand? And all the generations he would have had, he's not having those generations, right? The children who he would have fathered or whatever it is. That's whatever it is. We talk about the Egla Rufa, right? Or the Egel, right? But I'm just saying, Hashem accepts tshuva. I mean, are you going to have limitations? There'll be limitations, okay? It's always tshuva, right? Person eats not kosher. You regret it, but you ate not kosher. You violated Shabbos. You violated Shabbos. Could you undo the violation of the Shabbos? Can't undo it. So I always say, I mean, the Mr. Sermon speaks about it a little bit. He addresses it, but I always say, what's the difference if a person goes and he intentionally runs a person over with his car? What's that called? It's called murder. What about a person, when he drove, he was distracted on his cell phone, texting? What's that called? It's called manslaughter. What about a person's driving, he had the cross serviced, and all of a sudden the car goes out of control and kills a person? What's that called? It's called a tragedy. In every case, he's behind the wheel, same thing happened. So how do you differentiate one case to the other? Evidently, it's the intent. The intent of the person determines what happened. Is it murder? Is it manslaughter? Or is it called tragedy? So you see, so if a person regrets, for tshuva, you don't have to undo the action. The action does not be undone. It's just a question, you're divorcing yourself from the action. What was your relationship to the action? That's the tshuva. That's what the tshuva counts. It's not as if it wasn't done. Right? Let's say a person was permitted to eat not kosher because it's pikuach nefesh, and somebody mistakenly drew a lesson from that you're allowed to eat not kosher. Is the person culpable? The person's not culpable. He was obligated to eat not kosher. Right? Is he held accountable for the other person eating non kosher? He's not accountable for that. It's the same thing. So if a person does what we call a tshuva shlema, sincere, remorse and everything, it's irrelevant what the ripple effect was. But just not, but the person doesn't even know. The remorse is very often depends on the degree of understanding what you did. There's a story with the Maral Diskin. Not sure about the story you can tell of her. The Maral Diskin, where there was a person during the time of the Maskilim, the scholar, the Enlightenment movement, that this person had written a book, was heresy. And he was published, and thousands and thousands of people read this book. And as a result of this, thousands of families abandoned Yiddishkeit. That was like, it's like the protocols of Zion and anti-Semitism. This is regarding heresy. And because of him, he destroyed thousands of people in terms of their Yiddishkeit. They became cultural Jews, but they're as being connected as a religion, they gave it up. So at the end of his life, he realized he did the wrong thing, and he was broken, and he couldn't, and he realized, time is reaching his end. Started to do tshuva, but he felt whatever he does, there's no way he can correct what he did. The damage that he caused to Klal Yisrael can can ever be correct. Impossible. What does he do? So he came to Merle Diskin, a broken man with his daughter. And he told Merle Diskin, what am I supposed to do? So he told him, it's tough. It's tough, you know. But if you do this and this and this, and he said, after he passes away, he'll say Kaddish for him, so on and so forth. Whatever it is, you know. Do you know whether you did enough tshuva or whatever it is? It's similar to what you're saying, right? How do you undo it? But if a person does a tshuva shlema, do you ever know if you do a tshuva shlema? So, story. Okay. No. Right, correct. Yeah, but you have to do tshuva. What kind of tshuva do we do? You know, it's like somebody betrays his best friend. He goes to him, he says, you know, I'm sorry. And takes him about 3 seconds to say, I'm sorry, and walks away. Do you forgive me? I'm sorry, do you forgive me? After betraying your best friend, you think that's going to do the trick? That's going to reinstate the relationship. You know? Such a thing, you should come crawling on your hands and knees, broken, and whatever. It's clear from, you know, what your mindset is. The person, God forbid, like you said, accidentally kills someone. The man has to take medication, has to go into psychiatric care. But you do a chet, which is, in a certain way, has the ripple effect, the ramifications. Worse, you're okay. You know, life, we must go on with life, you know, okay. But what about what you did? So for that, you can't get out of bed in the morning. For this, you know, got to get to the office, you know. Can't let people walk around with bunions, you know. Got to attend to their needs.